Hi, my name's Tony Ridley, and once again welcome back to another in the series for crisis leadership and management in this education tutorial series. In this segment we're talking about stakeholder analysis, and in this subset we're talking specifically about human factors and the networks and the relationships. We've spoken at length in terms of the analytical approach and determining interest and influence. It's important to remember the human factor in terms of these relationships. We cannot consume too much time and effort and resources in over-analysis of what is a ever-changing and potentially fragile process, and that is humans. You cannot underestimate how people feel in the absence of information, how they feel, whether they've been traumatized, they're elated, they've got personal impacts or influences that have nothing to do with this particular crisis, but it is influencing their stance or their performance. All of these factors need to be considered from the perspective of the management and engagement of people. We're not talking robots, we're not talking machinery. There is a communication, relationship and integration process that also needs to be considered. But no one individual nor one particular group stands alone. There is degrees of connectivity. Now, some of this connectivity, as I've mentioned previously, may exist prior to the event. It may exist as a legacy arrangement. However, new bonds, new relationships, new alliances will certainly be shaped and formed throughout the course of even the most moderate of crises. Therefore, even through our incident and emergency management, we have to consider these factors, and it's certainly very applicable when we're talking crisis management. So we need to not only understand the relationships and the impacts and influence that they have on us, but how do these stakeholders integrate with each other? And remembering, as I said, in terms of emissaries and envoys and ambassadors on our behalf, we may be able to use these stakeholders at a second and third tier level to influence and engage with other aspects that we see as important, whether it be shareholders, media and so on. It's important to map it out. Again, making divisions between internal and external and evaluating the strengths and majority and number of the stakeholders at hand, it's important to remember in terms of the internal and external nature, because again, this is a view or consideration that if all of the information on a particular event or incident is first being released to the public and going out to the broader community, internal stakeholders, whether it be spontaneously or cumulatively, will potentially view that as being negative, or something is being hidden, or just have a sense of lack of self-worth. All of these things, again, need to be considered as part of the communication priority decision making and implementation. So again, whether you choose to rationalize it through positive and negative aspects and happy and sad faces, whatever your mechanism is, there needs to be some qualifying process. And again, because this is going to be shared with multiple parties and often non-geographically shared locations, you need to have some sort of visual process in terms of how you're going to communicate that and what exactly it is that you're going to communicate. So that essentially talks about some of the networks and relationships in terms of the diversity. Some of the key things to consider are the relationships between organizations, relationships between individuals within all of those organizations. And as you can see, this can potentially require a dedicated resource or a dedicated time frame in order to evaluate and assess all of these particular elements and components, given how critical it will be in terms of successfully pursuing your outcomes or achieving your outcomes and objectives, and certainly preserving a non-stop service, a continuous service model, irrespective of the influences and events. So once again, thanks very much for joining us. For more information on crisis leadership management in this educational tutorial series, please visit the website at www.crisismanagement.tony-ridley.com. That's all for now. Once again, thanks very much and bye.